Title: The Day the Sun Disappeared. Unraveling the Mystery of 1780's Dark Day. Description: On May 19, 1780, the sky over New England turned pitch black in the middle of the day, plunging the world into terrifying darkness. Was it a supernatural event? The end of the world? Or something else entirely? Join us as we explore the chilling eyewitness accounts, the panic that ensued, and the modern science that finally solved the 200-year-old mystery of the Dark Day. Timestamps: 0 o'clock, the day the world went dark, 1:45. Eyewitness to the apocalypse, 3:30. Panic and prophecy, 5:15. Early theories: divine wrath or natural wonder. 7 o'clock, the scientific breakthrough, 8:45. The Dark Day's legacy, imagine. It's a bright spring morning. The year is 1780. You're going about your day in New England when, slowly but surely, the sun begins to fade. Not behind clouds, but as if it's being erased from the sky. By noon, the world is plunged into a darkness so profound that you can see your own hand in front of your face. Animals fall silent. People scream in the streets, and a terrifying question echoes in everyone's mind. Is this the end of the world? This isn't a scene from a movie. This really happened. On May 19, 1780, a mysterious darkness fell across North America, an event that would become known simply as the Dark Day. For over 2 centuries, its cause remained a chilling mystery. What turned day into night? Today, we pull back the curtain on one of history's most terrifying and perplexing events, separating fact from fear and science from superstition. This is the story of the day the sun vanished. The date was Friday, May 19, 1780. Across New England and parts of Canada, the day began like any other. The sun rose, birds sang, and life went on. But by mid-morning, something was terribly wrong. Eyewitnesses from Massachusetts to New Hampshire reported a strange yellowish or reddish tint to the sunlight. Then, the darkness began to creep in. It wasn't like a storm rolling in. The air was still, but the light was simply leaving. By noon, what should have been the brightest part of the day was as dark as a moonless midnight. People lit candles just to see inside their own homes. Chickens went back to their roosts, convinced night had fallen. Cattle returned to their barns, lowing in confusion. In the streets, people gathered, their faces lit by lanterns, staring up at a sky that was completely black. One of the most vivid accounts comes from the journal of a man named Samuel Williams, who was at Harvard College. He wrote that the darkness was so thick, persons could not see to read common print in the open air. He noted a strange, sooty smell, and that when it rained later, the water left a dark, ashy residue on surfaces. This wasn't just a heavy, overcast day. This was something different, something unnatural. The darkness was tangible, suffocating, and for the thousands of people experiencing it, it felt like the world itself was holding its breath, waiting for what came next. As you can imagine, widespread panic ensued. In a deeply religious era, the most immediate and common conclusion was that this was a divine sin, specifically, that Judgment Day had arrived. Churches filled with terrified people praying for salvation. Many believed the prophecies of the Bible were coming to pass right before their eyes. The darkness, combined with the reddish hue of the little light that remained, perfectly matched descriptions of the apocalypse. Businesses closed, and work ground to a halt. Why bother with worldly matters when the final trumpet could sound at any moment? This fear was famously captured in the Connecticut legislature, which was in session at the time. As the legislative hole grew darker and darker, some members called for adjournment, fearing the end was not. It was then that a councilman named Abraham Davenport stood up and delivered one of the most famous speeches in New England history. He declared, "I am against the day of judgment is either approaching, or it is not. If it is not, there is no cause for an adjournment. If it is, I choose to be found doing my duty. I wish, therefore, that Candlemas may be brought." His calm resolve in the face of what many saw as the apocalypse became legendary. But for the average person, there was no such calm. There was only the oppressive, terrifying darkness, and the certainty that something biblical was happening. The night that followed was even more terrifying. The moon, when it rose, was said to be the color of blood, reigniting the fears that the day had only briefly quieted. When the sun finally, blessedly, returned the next morning, the world was forever changed. The immediate terror gave way to a desperate need for answers. What had they just lived through? The theories began to fly. The Judgment Day explanation remained popular for a long time. Preachers delivered sermons about the event for years, using it as a stark warning against sin. But even in 1780, some minds turned toward more scientific explanations. One early theory was a solar eclipse, but that was quickly dismissed. Astronomers knew the schedules of eclipses, and none was predicted for that day. Plus, an eclipse would have been localized and would have only lasted for a few minutes, not for nearly an entire day across such a vast area. Another popular idea was that a massive volcano had erupted somewhere on the planet, spewing a gigantic ash cloud into the upper atmosphere that blocked the sun. This was a plausible theory, as volcanic eruptions like Krakatoa and Tambora would later be proven to affect global weather and skies. However, there were no records of a major eruption anywhere in the world at that specific time that could account for such a concentrated, dense darkness over New England. Others wondered if it was a comet passing close to Earth, its tail obscuring the sun. For decades, the Dark Day remained a favorite topic for debate, a chilling piece of folklore, and a scientific puzzle with no clear solution. The true answer was out there, but it would take more than 200 years, and a completely different field of science, to find it. The breakthrough finally came, not from astronomers or theologians, but from foresters. In the early 2000s, researchers at the University of Missouri were studying tree rings to reconstruct the history of forest fires in North America. By analyzing the burn scars trapped in the rings of ancient trees, they could pinpoint the exact year and even the season of major fires from centuries ago. While studying old-growth forests in the Algonquin Highlands of southern Ontario, Canada, they found something remarkable. They discovered massive, widespread evidence of a colossal forest fire that occurred in the spring of 1780. The fire scars were extensive, indicating a burn of incredible size and intensity. This was the smoking gun. The scientists realized that a fire of this magnitude would have sent an enormous plume of thick, oily smoke and ash high into the atmosphere. The prevailing weather patterns at the time would have carried this dense cloud directly southeast, right over New England. The combination of thick smoke and atmospheric conditions, including fog and cloud cover, would have created the perfect recipe for the perfect darkness described by witnesses. The smoke particles would have been large enough to block sunlight effectively, creating the midday twilight. The specific chemical composition of the smoke from burning pine trees would also explain the yellowish or reddish hue of the sky and the sooty, ashy rain that followed. It wasn't the end of the world. It was an environmental event on a scale that people in 1780 simply couldn't comprehend. The mystery was solved. So what is the legacy of the 1780 Dark Day? On one hand, it's a fascinating historical and scientific detective story. It shows how a natural, albeit massive, event can be interpreted as something supernatural when the scientific context is missing. It's a powerful reminder of how our ancestors saw the world, a world where the line between the natural and the divine was often blurred. Abraham Davenport's famous quote about bringing in the candles has become a symbol of civic duty and rationality in the face of panic. It's often cited as a testament to the steady, unshakable character of early Americans. But the Dark Day's legacy is also a crucial environmental lesson. It demonstrates the immense power of forest fires and how events in one part of the continent can have drastic and terrifying effects hundreds of miles away. In our modern era of climate change and increasing wildfire threats, the story of 1780 is more relevant than ever. It's a 200-year-old warning written in the sky, reminding us of the profound and sometimes frightening interconnectedness of our planet. The day the sun disappeared wasn't an omen or a curse. It was a message from the Earth itself. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the past. If you enjoyed this exploration of history's great mysteries, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more. We'll see you next time.